Most people believe that if they try harder, life will finally respond. They push, they adjust, they force themselves to become better, calmer, stronger. And yet, the more they try, the more exhausted they feel. This is not because they are weak. It is because they are using power in the wrong direction. True power has never come from effort. It comes from being. From the moment you wake up, you are already reacting. You check your phone. You check your thoughts. You check how you feel. And without realizing it, you leave your center. Reaction seems harmless, small, automatic. But reaction is the fastest way to leak authority. Every reaction says, something outside me has control, and the world listens. The law of being is not a concept. It is not a belief. It is not something you practice for 20 minutes a day. It is the natural state you had before you learned to interfere with yourself, before you tried to fix everything, before you tried to control outcomes, before you learned to measure your worth by results. When you were younger, there were moments where you simply existed. No pressure, no inner commentary, no self-correction. In those moments, things happened effortlessly. People responded, opportunities appeared, timing felt aligned. Not because you were lucky, because you were not in the way. Effort feels productive, but effort is often fear in disguise. Fear that if you stop, everything will collapse. Fear that if you don't react, you will lose control. Fear that stillness means doing nothing. But stillness is not emptiness. It is command. There is a reason why the most grounded people do not speak much. Why their presence is felt before their words. Why they do not explain themselves. They are not managing reality. Reality is responding to them. Most people reverse this order. They try to change the world to feel stable inside. But the law of being works in the opposite direction. When you become stable inside, the world reorganizes. Not immediately, not dramatically, but precisely. Notice this. When you are calm but not passive, present but not tense, aware but not thinking, life softens. Conversations flow differently. Resistance disappears. Problems lose their urgency. Nothing magical happened. You simply stopped interrupting your own authority. The nervous system knows this truth. That is why chronic effort leads to burnout. Not because life is hard, but because the body knows you are fighting something unnecessary. You were never meant to hold everything together. You were meant to hold your state. Being comes before action. And when being is aligned, action becomes inevitable. This is why forcing manifestation never works. You cannot force alignment. You can only stop misaligning, stop reacting, stop checking, stop correcting every internal movement. Remain. Remaining does not mean giving up. It means you no longer chase outcomes. You move when movement arises. You speak when speech is clean. You act when action is clear. No urgency, no internal noise. The mind will resist this. It will say, if I don't push, nothing will happen. But observe carefully. The moments when life truly shifted for you were never forced. They arrived when you were grounded enough to receive them. The law of being does not reward effort. It responds to coherence. When your inner state is not split, when you are not arguing with yourself, when you are not rushing toward a future moment, you emit clarity, and clarity reorganizes reality. This is not philosophy. This is physics of consciousness. A stable state creates predictable outcomes. A reactive state creates chaos. In the next part, you will understand why reacting collapses alignment instantly and how most people unknowingly sabotage their own power dozens of times every day without realizing it. Reaction is not action. It feels similar, but it comes from a very different place. Action comes from clarity. Reaction comes from disturbance, and the body knows the difference instantly. Every time you react, you tell reality one thing: I am not centered. That message is subtle, but it is absolute. Most people do not lose power in big moments. They lose it in small, unconscious reactions: a glance, a sigh, a need to explain, a need to correct. They respond before they settle, and in that moment, alignment collapses. Reaction is speed without authority. It moves fast, but it moves blind. When you react, you skip presence. You bypass stillness. You abandon your center for a fraction of a second. But reality responds to that fraction. Notice this carefully. When someone reacts emotionally, the room changes. The tone shifts. The energy tightens. Even if no words are spoken, something becomes unstable. That instability is alignment leaving the body. The law of being is precise. It does not care about intention. It does not reward effort. It responds only to state, and reaction always signals a disturbed state. Most people believe they need to respond quickly to maintain control, but control is not speed. Control is stillness under pressure. Think about the people who truly command respect. They do not rush their responses. They pause, they breathe, they allow silence, not because they are slow, but because they are grounded. Reaction is the nervous system trying to protect identity. It says, I need to defend. I need to fix. I need to respond now. But presence does not defend itself. Presence does not argue. Presence allows reality to adjust. This is why reacting always weakens authority. You step into the frame that someone else set. You accept their tempo, their emotional rhythm, their urgency, and you lose your own. The law of being teaches something radical. You do not need to respond to everything that touches you. Most things dissolve when not fed with reaction. Observe your daily life. How many times do you react without needing to? A message, a thought, a memory, a feeling. Each reaction pulls you out of alignment, not dramatically, but cumulatively. Burnout does not come from workload. It comes from constant reaction. The body is not designed to be in a perpetual state of response. It is designed to move from stillness to action and back to stillness. Reaction breaks this cycle. When you remain reactive, your nervous system never resets. It stays alert, tight, fragmented, and over time, clarity disappears. Most people try to fix burnout by resting the body, but the problem is not the body. It is the state. You cannot rest while constantly reacting internally. Stillness is not inactivity. It is non-interference. It is the absence of unnecessary response. When you stop reacting, energy consolidates, power returns. This is why silence feels uncomfortable at first, because reaction has become an addiction. The mind expects stimulation, conflict, movement, but silence exposes the noise. If you can sit without reacting to your thoughts, something shifts, not immediately, but unmistakably. The mind slows, the body softens, awareness expands. This is alignment rebuilding itself, not through effort, but through absence of interference. Reaction also shows up as constant self-correction, monitoring yourself, judging your state, trying to feel different. This is reaction turned inward, and it is just as draining. The law of being does not require you to feel good. It requires you to remain present. Presence allows emotions to pass without resistance. Reaction traps them. Most emotional pain persists, not because it is strong, but because it is constantly reacted to. The moment you stop reacting, emotion completes its cycle. This is why stillness heals, not because it suppresses emotion, but because it allows completion. Look closely. When you feel anxious and you stop trying to fix it, something unexpected happens. The anxiety softens, not because you controlled it, but because you stopped feeding it. Reaction feeds patterns. Presence dissolves them. The world mirrors this perfectly. When you chase outcomes, they resist. When you release urgency, they approach, not magically, energetically. The law of being is not passive, it is strategic. It understands that the most efficient way to move reality is to stop disrupting alignment. When you remain centered, decisions become obvious, not because you thought them through, but because noise is gone. This is why intuition only works in stillness. Reaction blocks intuition. Presence reveals it. Most people think intuition is a voice. It is not. It is clarity. And clarity only appears when reaction stops. If you want life to respond differently, do not change your actions first. Change your state. This does not mean withdrawal from life. It means engagement without inner disturbance. You act, but you do not react. You speak, but you do not defend. You move, but you do not rush. This is the state where reality reorganizes, slowly, quietly, precisely. In the next part, you will understand how to remain in this state without forcing it, without discipline, and without effort. And why remaining is the most powerful position you can hold. Remaining is not effort. It is not something you do. It is what happens when you stop leaving yourself. Most people believe they must hold on to stillness, but stillness does not need to be held. It appears naturally when interference ends. Remaining means this: you stay with what is without trying to change it, not because you give up, but because you understand that interference creates distortion. The law of being does not require discipline. Discipline implies force. Remaining requires honesty. Honesty with your internal movement. When tension appears, you do not suppress it. You do not analyze it. You notice it without commentary. And something subtle happens. The tension loses its grip. This is how remaining works, not through control, but through awareness without reaction. Most people leave themselves dozens of times a day. They leave through thought. They leave through memory. They leave through anticipation. Remaining means you stop traveling mentally. You stay here, in the body, in the breath, in the present moment. The mind resists this. It wants problems, it wants narratives, it wants movement. But presence does not argue with the mind. It allows the mind to exhaust itself. When you stop feeding thought with reaction, thought slows, not because you forced it, but because it no longer has fuel. This is the state where clarity returns, not as an idea, as a felt sense. Decisions arise without struggle. You know when to act. You know when to wait. And most importantly, you know when not to respond. Remaining creates authority without dominance. People feel it. They may not understand it, but they adjust. The room adjusts. Conversations soften. Situations de-escalate. Not because you controlled anything, but because coherence entered the space. This is how reality reorganizes. It does not need instructions. It responds to state. When you remain present long enough, your nervous system resets. safety returns to the body. And from safety, true power emerges. Power is not aggression. Power is groundedness. Power is calm under uncertainty. This is why people in alignment move slower but arrive sooner. They do not scatter energy. They do not chase outcomes. They allow outcomes to align with them. Remaining also means you stop asking, "Is this working?" That question itself breaks alignment. Alignment is not fragile, but it does require non-interference. The moment you check, you step outside the state. The moment you trust, you remain inside it. This does not mean blind faith. It means embodied presence. You are here. You are aware, and that is enough. The law of being is not mystical. It is practical. When your inner world is stable, your outer world follows. Not always instantly, but inevitably. There will be moments when you forget, when you react, when you leave yourself again. This is not failure. This is human. Remaining is not perfection. It is returning again and again and again. Each return strengthens coherence. Each return builds trust between you and life. Eventually, something changes. You stop trying to align. Alignment becomes natural. Life no longer feels like resistance. It feels responsive. Not because problems disappear, but because you are no longer fragmented. This is the quiet power most people never discover, because it requires nothing the ego can take credit for. No performance, no identity, no struggle, just presence. And presence is the most magnetic force there is. You do not need to manifest. You do not need to visualize. You do not need to chase. You need to remain. When you remain, life moves.